Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Funniest People You've Never Heard of. I'm Peter. This is Todd.
Hey, everyone.
Holy cow. We have such a great guest today. It's Zara Mizrahi, and she is a fantastic stand-up comedian, host, and voiceover actor. You may have seen her on stage, or you may have heard her on, Family Guy, in the MCU, or American Dad. It's a great conversation. And also, Todd, you get to explain your love of Chipotle a little bit.
Yeah, normally we talk about your passion, which is comedy, but...
But and
Amateur hour, I'm keeping this in. That you guys look at us and you think, wow, these guys really fucking have it together, but we're a joke. We show up, it's barely scraping by.
One of my favorite parts is you get to talk about your love of Chipotle, and Zara also has a love of Chipotle.
Yeah, a few things get me as excited as Chipotle, so I'm glad we were able to get that on record.
Also, if you want to get active and you want to be a big part of this podcast, come out and see our first ever produced show, Funniest People You've Never Heard of, November 16th. That's a Saturday up in Burbank at Flappers. Some great guests that you've listened to, seen on the podcast, and other guests that may come on the podcast in the future. It's going to be a really fun night.
Yeah, we would love for you guys to come out. Come say hi to me. Come say hi to Peter.
Yeah.
We'll give you a sticker.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sticker, maybe a shot of this tequila. Nothing makes a Saturday night better than tequila espacial. It's so espacial. And it makes every evening espacial. Todd, where can we get some more tequila espacial?
You can get a bottle of Tequila Especial at www.tequilaespecial.com.
Fantastic. Please welcome our guest, Zara Mizrahi. Take a listen. She's fantastic. Hey, by the way, who did you vote for? Hey, everyone. He's right behind me, isn't he? We're here with Zara Mizrahi. Zara, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Funniest People. So, Zara, how's it going? How, as a LA, local, what's it like performing, in the town that you sort of grew up in?
It's actually great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel so comfortable here, so I get way more nervous when I'm on the road.
Really?
Yeah, I just I understand LA. I was fucking born right across the street from the Scientology Center. So I'm like,
Whoa.
I know these weirdos. I understand them. I'm comfortable here. When other people are like a little more on edge, I tend to get really calm.
Well, I mean, if you can escape them, then you can do anything.
That's what they say.
Have you ever been tempted to go inside?
Yeah.
The Scientology Center?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have been, actually, not to this one, but I once actually got roped into another location. This was so weird. I was with my brother on a road trip in SF, and he was like, oh, I write for this guy. My brother's a writer. He was like, I've never met him in person, though, and he gave me this address. Let's, go grab coffee really quick, and I'll just say hi. The address was to a Scientology Center.
Oh, wow.
And
Yikes.
we, pulled into the garage, and I was like, oh, dude, they take down license plates.
Yeah.
Get out of it. So then the guys saw us pull in and leave and park up the street. And then I was like, what? This is so awkward. So I just pretended I just threw up on the sidewalk. And I was like, I didn't want to throw up in your parking lot.
Yeah.
Dude, I was being nice.
That's quick on your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. That's a good way to
Fake
escape
puke,
that.
always.
But then also you escaped as a child too, so you're kind of like the Harry Potter of LA.
Yeah, one day I'm gonna wake up with that weird cross.
Yeah,
scar on
lightning
my head.
bolt.
Yeah.
I had friends that went to the Scientology Center for their birthday, and they gave fake names, and they were like, "We just want to go in and treat it like an escape room." And I was like, I may never see you again.
That's
Good luck.
a lifelong escape room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you get out to sea, right?
Dude, they ruin your life. That's scary.
Okay. I always think, well, what's interesting is you grew up around this, actually across the street from it, we were born there, essentially. When I think of if it's not going to work out for me in Hollywood, the last card I play is I'm going to join Scientology.
Yeah.
Would you ever think that?
It's a good Hail Mary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a career Hail
Maybe
Mary.
the networking will be bomb.
But I mean, you don't need to do that now. Your career's going great. You're performing all over town. And you also have lent your voice and many voices to, I guess, the Seth MacFarlane verse, right? It's American Dad and Family Guy. How did you get into that world?
It was totally by chance, actually.
That's amazing.
I know, it was crazy. So I have been doing commercial voiceover for a few years.
Yeah.
And because I worked at an ad company, that was by chance too. I was working in an ad company doing copywriting for them.
Oh, smart.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and then one day, one of the actors fell out who was supposed to read the commercials. So I was like, well, I'll try. And then so I was doing that for like 4 or 5 years. And I was like, I really like this, but animation is notoriously hard to break into.
Right.
And I had a friend, Bobby, who was helping me record a lot of the commercials or a lot of auditions I got. He had a booth at his house, and he works on so many shows. So I was going over there. I guess he was sort of starting to see that I was maybe just honing my skills a little bit more. And one day, someone fell out of Family Guy. And at like
someone died? Like, that's...
Scientology got to them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It's like, you had just mentioned, how rare it is that these opportunities come up. I imagine if you're leaving Family Guy, you're either dead or you're going to The Simpsons.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I would like block out my month to make sure.
Yeah, of
but
course.
It was crazy. They called me at 9:45 and they were like, "Can you be here at 10:15?" And
wow.
And so I was like, oh God, I have to shower. And then I'm like, what am I talking about? I'm doing voiceover. I can just go in there.
Yeah, just get there,
Be
dude.
gross. Yeah. And so I somehow made it on time, and I was just so lucky. It was pure luck.
That is so great. I mean, good for you for being able to step up to that moment. Like, what are some fun projects that you've worked on? And do you ever get to work with other voice actors when you're in the booth there?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually it's strange because voiceover is a weird world.
Yeah. If you could explain it to kind of the audience.
Yeah. To be honest, every show has a different way of operating. So I was also on a Marvel show where I had like a set character and did dialogue, and usually that's recorded solo.
Okay.
And you just imagine the other person saying their lines, and then you deliver each line at a time, and then they put it together. But in Family Guy, it's actually a group record.
Oh, cool.
Which is really, it's interesting. I didn't expect that either, but it's called a loop group.
Yeah.
And a loop group, do I explain, or just because you seem to know?
Let me tell you what I think a loop group is.
Yeah.
A loop group is like, it's like joining the mafia. It's like, it's hard as hell to get in.
Not untrue, yeah.
Right? And it's like maybe the best job in Hollywood because you're there for a set number of hours. And
you don't have to shower.
You're with your group. Yeah. No showers.
Best quality.
It's most like a mafia, but if a mafia was a cult. Less showering, more sex, lots of Kool-Aid. But it's a group of people, and a lot of times loop groups are used for like background noise. If like something's done like in live action on the street, it's like, oh, there's New York City, like, oh, chatter. But like, what's the animated version of that?
Yeah, so that's actually pretty accurate. So that's called
That was accurate? Wow.
Well, the sex and the Kool-Aid part, yeah.
So I haven't been there long enough to do the orgies. I think that's coming up.
Right,
They're
yeah.
gonna-
If you get invited to Seth's Christmas party, have you been to Seth's Christmas party?
I haven't.
Oh.
I know, it ain't right.
We can't talk about, I can't
it's
talk about
Scientology on crack.
It's something else, man. It's something else. But the
Scientology
loop group,
on Scientology.
But the loop group in your, loop group in your experience is been what so far?
Yeah, so you mentioned the group chatter. That's called Walla.
Oh, cool.
In any animated show or any live action show, when there's Walla in the background, it's really just gibberish, ambient chatter to sort of set the stage. So when the characters walk into a market or the clam, the drunken clam, or whatever, an airport, you wouldn't notice when you watch, but there's a little like happening in the back. So it sounds like they're walking into a real place. I think it just makes it sound a little more legitimate. When you think about it without it, it's actually weird.
Yeah,
but you don't notice it when it's
it's a
playing.
bit eerie.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then they also do a lot of the fill-in, basically sound effects called efforts.
Yeah.
Any character has like a million in any given episode. So anything like a scream, grunt, cough, when a character jumps and lands on something, they go like,
Yeah.
Or like Meg getting thrown down the stairs.
Oh, right,
you know,
right,
like
right.
we have to count how many stairs.
Right.
Is her mouth open or closed? Because that's
great.
like different. Is it like like, I mean, you know, I don't want to make the wrong sounds right now.
Right,
but,
right, right.
You know,
Sure,
but it's
sure,
also
sure.
like if her mouth is closed.
Yeah, yeah,
Going
yeah.
down the steps, crying, screaming. Whenever there's like a boat crash, you know, it's like then the whole group together has to. And then we're
That's so
watching
fun.
the scene. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a very specific job.
And you're getting the animatic, is that what it's called, without the color?
It's actually beyond that. We
Oh.
see the episode.
You see the full episode?
Yeah,
Oh, great.
we're one of the last steps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you couldn't do sound before picture lock.
Right.
Or, you know, the final product there.
Right. It's totally ADR.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah, so they match, you know, they're the beeps, and then you have to say it right on the beep to match the thing. And then as the characters are moving around or doing whatever, then we have to change the vibe of I mean, we don't even know what we're doing when we're doing it. We just watch it and then like hope for the best.
Can I ask how it works with characters? Like when you go, do they show you a visual of the character you're playing? And then they obviously give you some background or direction, and then you try out a few voices type thing in the audition?
Yeah, so what happens is they'll show the clip that they need the efforts for, if it's an efforts cue. And we have like a sheet of all the cues that we'll be doing. Screams, like nuns get decapitated, screams.
Right.
So we'll see the nuns all lined up, and then it'll be like, you're this nun, you're this nun, you're this nun, and the group. And then the beeps line up with where the cue actually goes, and then, but you don't really try it before you're just thrown in.
Yeah.
So you don't
Cool.
know what it's gonna. I'm like, I
That's
didn't know I
exciting.
could make that sound once
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, it's the weirdest way to like experiment.
Just want to make sure I have, you don't have to do it twice. What's the level I should be at here?
How many characters or like voices would you say you have access to or have like created for yourself?
Ooh, characters, not just like
Or
different
like, I guess
sounds.
voices. Yeah, whatever you
I mean,
consider that.
Geez, we've probably done over 100 like different sounds.
Wow.
I would imagine they've done way more. Those groups are, I mean, they just, like you said, it's kind of the mafia. So they've been practicing for like decades.
Yeah.
I've only been there for like 5 years, and some of that was COVID, and I wasn't there for COVID. And then I filled in when someone dropped out. I'm kind of like an alternate,
Cool.
but because my voice is deeper, I also fill in for the guys too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
Is there a voice or like a character voice or something in your head that you haven't been able to use that you're like, that like doesn't have a name or like you're like itching to use?
yeah, actually, yes. They're sort of when I'm trying to distance myself from my emotions. I'll be like, if I'm angry in traffic or something, I'll just like go into a character.
Really?
And then, yeah, it helps.
Like disassociate?
Yeah, I'll be like, no, you know? And then it just sort of takes, then I'm like, oh, I'm not upset. My character's,
Right, that
that like
person.
weird
Oh, wow.
voice is upset.
What a
you know?
technique.
I'd actually never even verbalized it until right now, but I talk out loud to myself a lot.
In the car?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I would love to
Not in
see some
public.
more of that. That was really entertaining.
Yeah, who comes out in the car? It's that, you know, that like, I don't know, elementary school kid.
Totally.
No.
Yeah, a lot of kids. I guess there are some grumbles. Or like once in a while, it's like, I'm uncomfortable. I'll do that sometimes.
I feel like that's a voice that would come out of your mouth in a social situation. You're like, oh my God, did I just say that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
kind of,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I overshare way too much, and then I just pretend I didn't say that.
If it's in a funny voice, though, you could say anything.
That's so fun. And then do you, I mean, I had mentioned briefly, but you perform, you know, stand up around town.
Honestly, the worst part about being from LA is that every time I go out with my dad, everyone just assumes we're dating. That's definitely the worst part. I was at a restaurant once with my dad, and we were sitting across from each other, just like having a nice conversation, and the waiter came up to us, and he was like, I have to ask, how'd you guys meet? And my dad was like, I fucked her mom. because I come from a Mexican Jewish family, so I should have been a grandmother like 18 years ago. My dad calls Mexican Jews the chosen Juans. So the fact that I don't have kids right now is like really confusing to my family. And I tried to tell my mom, I was like, look, I just don't know if I want kids. And she was like, Zara, but you need kids. I was like, Mom, only farmers need kids.
How often do you bring different voices in to your stand-up act?
It's a good question. I really should be doing more. I think of it as not necessarily like, here's a character
Sure.
and then like go into a character, but like I really love when people bring like their family members to life. For example, you know, when someone talks about their grandmother or their aunt and then their aunt. I've never said it like that before.
Oh, aunt? You've never said aunt?
No, it's always aunt.
It's always aunt.
What do you say?
I was a part of a softball team called the Fire Ants, and our
Okay,
logo
so
was like an aunt on fire, which was pretty clever. But I will say aunt, and sometimes I'll catch myself saying Florida. instead
Where are
of
you from?
Florida, but
Is that
also
common?
Florida. I don't know. So I'm not even in control of what's out of my
Couldn't
mouth.
say your own home state.
Last night I was doing a bit about talking to my dad on the phone, and I was like, "Hey, it's your daughter," and I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "What? What's wrong with me? I've had a crazy day. Yeah, I've had a crazy week. Also, I left. There's a little bit about me. I left my debit card in the drive-through of a Del Taco, but I took the food.
Wait, how does someone leave something in a drive-through?
Dude,
Walk me through the science.
I know. It was one window was open.
What was your sobriety level, first of all?
I was
If you're-
sober. I
if
was driving, and I was just like, "Oh man!" They put the cheese in between two of the taco shells. I was so pumped, and I was just like, "Here, take this." Then they gave me the food, and I was like, "This, that's enough." Boom.
You're like, here, take my whole credit card.
It's probably plastic is more expensive than whatever's on that card. So yeah, I've had a great week.
Congrats.
This is a good opportunity for me to bring up something I wanted to bring to you, which I realize we share is an obsession with Chipotle, just going
Oh
off
my
of
God.
Del
Are
Taco.
you
Oh,
obsessed?
yeah.
Are you obsessed?
For like 10 years, Chipotle was like my personality. That's
Really?
like what people associated me with, was like, oh, Todd, the guy who wants Chipotle every day for lunch.
Chipotle Todd.
Yeah.
So what's your relationship with Chipotle?
It is so close to my heart. They're really, I don't know how to properly just articulate my love and appreciation for everything Chipotle's done for me. It's
Okay. Oh my
I'm
God!
getting
You don't need
emotional.
to get emotional.
Yeah, don't
You
get
don't need to get
emotional.
emotional.
no, but it is. It's really lovely.
I feel like a couple years ago it hit like a lull, but now it's back.
Why
Like,
is that?
I had it a few times. My wife and I would be like, oh, the chef over in Westwood doesn't know what he's doing.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
I know that location.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. It's just something, it just makes me feel like I'm home. I can't explain it. My Mexican family would punch me in the face if they heard me say that. But there's something about it that, I don't know, biting into a pillow. And
It
like
is.
being able to hold it in the tinfoil. I love a direct-to-face food.
Okay, hand to face.
Yeah, I really prefer
Farm
that.
to table, hand to face.
That's how I
Right.
live my life. I really hate things that require utensils.
One of my dreams has always been to go behind the counter and like make my perfect burrito. Like I've always wanted to put the rice and then drizzle the hot salsa and then mix that up.
Yes.
So the rice is like
Totally.
absorbs the hot sauce.
Oh yeah, like a curry.
Yeah, almost.
Whoa.
And then the rest is pretty much normal Chipotle. But that rice salsa combo. One time I brought scrambled eggs in there when they first opened at 11. I was like, "Can you make me a breakfast burrito?" And they said no. So I had to take it home. But then I tried to unwrap it, and then it was
and
it
then
was
you can't
done.
wrap it
So
again.
I had to move on.
Jeez.
Do you ever look at one of the workers there and just know they're going to be a bad burrito folder? Have you
Yeah,
ever,
it's like you don't have it in your eyes.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
tell.
Oh, I wanted to ask you. I don't think anyone's ever asked this. What's it like being a woman in comedy? No, sincerely though. Growing up in Los Angeles, the entertainment capital of the world. When do you decide to jump into live performance?
Let's see. I always loved being funny. I love funny things, and I would just imitate like Lucille Ball and Looney Tunes and stuff growing up. So finally jumping to stand-up, which was a total experiment when I first tried. I was not setting out to be a comic at all. It just felt natural.
Okay, great.
But it was definitely a surprise. Like, I did not see myself as a comic at all, or a writer.
Oh, really?
Anyway, so yeah, I loved comedy writing, I guess. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Or I was trying to do more comedic acting or something.
Did that come out initially in like notes that you passed in school? Like, I'm going to be funny here, or like that was just you being funny and people laughing and you being like, oh yeah, that's funny. Or, you know, what was the first instance?
Yeah, I was always sort of bullied as a kid for some reason. And I would try to find a way to make them laugh even while they were bullying me,
Really?
which was a huge challenge, obviously. But like when it worked a couple times, I was like, this is amazing. How, like...
Superpower.
Yeah, kind of. To be able to just change a vibe
Yeah.
is pretty wild, especially when you're being attacked, kind of. Like, I realized it was a weapon, basically.
Yeah.
And then some people, I remember putting on fake magic shows when I was in kindergarten, like a failed magician trying to impress people, but kept pulling out the wrong, like, item from the hat or something like that.
But on
Really?
purpose.
On
Like, that
purpose.
was
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of your
yeah.
act. Nice.
Yeah.
That's advanced humor for like
I know, it was kind of I look at it now, I'm like, oh, all the pieces were there. It's obvious, but I think it came out of not being comfortable at school at all. And
Wow.
And then, yeah, all of my relationships I had in school were based on humor. My mom's an LA person, too. She, like, totally just raised me on movies and TV. Would just put on whatever was on and would hope I gathered whatever data I needed to survive in the city. When I was 6 years old, my mom showed me the movie The Shining. And I watched the whole thing. And I was like, what was I supposed to get out of that? She was like, I'm trying to teach you to not date writers. My brother and I worked together a lot, and we were super, super close growing up, and he's really funny also. Ironically, not a comedy writer.
Oh, wow.
But a writer, and I guess I always skewed a little more zany or funny or whatever, but he is so great with punchlines somehow. And,
Oh, fun.
yeah, and our dad is great with voices, so we would do voices together growing up, and we have a Mexican Middle Eastern family, so there was a lot to imitate. So we would just imitate the characters in our family and then come up with our own punchlines for them, and then before we knew it, we had a whole universe of, like, Middle Eastern people who, like, now I feel like I just know them so well, and we still communicate as these fictional characters a lot. And so I run a lot of my stuff by my brother still.
What's the most fun about performing now for you?
I've really come to enjoy being comfortable, just learning how to be more and more comfortable.
Yeah.
COVID was kind of huge for me, just developmentally in a weird way. It was the first time I really had to stop and...
Stop stand-up comedy?
Yeah, stop working in the way I was working, or stop just like trying to achieve, pursue, accomplish.
Oof. Yeah.
And that just opened up a kind of space for me to be like, wait, who am I really? And I just went through kind of an awesome transformation. I also turned 30 during that time, and that was kind of profound for me in an unexpected way.
Yeah. How was it profound?
I think there's something that when you turn 30, or when I turned 30, there was sort of a switch in my head that was like, oh, none of what's wrong is anyone else's fault anymore.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like anything that I'm upset about now, it's on me. Like,
Right, you stop pointing a finger.
Yeah, there's something
Interesting.
in your teens and 20s, you're always pointing fingers. And I think I was just sort of ready to be like, no, this is on me. You know, I'm in my 30s now, which is a little scary too, to be like, oh, if things don't work out the way I want them to, then it's also my fault, you know?
Ooh, yeah. To really put, not necessarily pressure, but put the stakes on yourself.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
It's like I'm in control.
Totally, it's scary, but I think there's also a lot of power in that. And I did EMDR therapy. Do you know about that?
No, what's that
That
about?
was fucking cool. I had heard about it for a while, and it's gotten really popular in the last few years. But it's basically going into your brain and rewiring neural pathways that are connected to certain beliefs. So if you have a belief like, I don't know, I don't deserve love, I'm just using that as an example,
Sure.
then you literally access a memory that confirms that belief to you, and you like process it in a certain way with a therapist. It's like butterfly taps like this, or you can do it on your knees, and it's
Whoa.
sort of like shaking up the snow globe of your brain and it
Cool.
sort of like opens up like everything in your brain that is connecting these beliefs to like making you believe that these beliefs are true.
Yeah, where does that come from? Yeah, I mean, or that's the question you're asking, right? It's like, what's the origin of this, and why has this seed grown into a tree that kind of shifts my personality or my beliefs, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't realize how many things that are just beliefs that I was taking as just fact.
Right.
That's like
exactly.
modern time travel.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like a magician.
Wow.
I was
Cool.
so insecure, and I still, obviously we all have insecurities, but like being able to just be comfortable and just be chilling when everyone else is freaking out is kind of nice.
Wow.
Like,
And hey, here's the trick. You were a magician all along.
that was not a belief I held.
Well, if Scientology doesn't work out, I'm definitely going to look into that.
Yeah. Don't jump to that.
Yeah,
Definitely
right.
go
Yeah,
through.
I need to work my way
No,
out.
you need to be detoxed and you need to go clear before.
That's
Yeah.
incredible, dude. That's
Yeah.
what an amazing journey.
So going back to what you were talking about with, turning 30 and only blaming yourself and kind of realizing the stakes of your career and stuff. I'm from LA. I know you're an LA local. For me, I always felt less pressure in a way that I'm almost upset at, that I didn't give up everything I have and get on a bus and move here. And if I ever was out of a job, I could go live at home for a bit. I don't have that the huge stakes of it. How has that worked for you being a LA native and kind of knowing your family's there, but still needing to, you're in a career that needs, all of your efforts?
Absolutely. That's such a good thing to point out and good question. I mean, I was in the industry when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I sort of understood the hustle already, but there were definitely moments in my 20s especially where I was like, it's cool, bro.
Right.
I still live here and I still go to my family dinners, and it was sort of like the career wasn't like the prominent focus in my life. It was just a thing that I was doing alongside living my LA life. Yeah. But I did sort of have to wrangle in it and get serious during COVID, because I was actually, right before COVID was a weird time for me, and career-wise, I was really questioning if I should even be doing this. And I was sort of at the end of my rope and I was really burned out. And then when COVID happened, I was like, well, wait, is this pandemic just going to take me out? Am I just going to disappear and, not do anything? And then I was like, I have all this tape from all the times when I did stand up and I never put it up anywhere. And then I was like, this is the last thing I haven't tried. It was my Hail Mary. It was my let me join Scientology and see if anything changes. And then that ended up being a whole thing. And I was so happy that that pandemic happened. It worked out for me, selfishly.
I'm glad it's working out, and I'm glad you put yourself out there, and I'm glad you were able to share these moments with us today.
Dude, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Of
you're
course,
awesome.
before we take off, we like to ask every guest if they could recommend somebody that they think we should have on the program.
Do you know Justin Foster?
Oh, yeah.
He's...
I can't
Did that-
tell if you're
I mean,
being serious or not.
honestly, yes, of course. Yes, I do know him. Yes, I do know him.
He's one of my oldest friends.
Oh, great.
One of my first friends in comedy, and wonderful human being and insanely talented.
Yeah, I've worked with him before. He's great. Actually, last time I saw him was in a green room here in Hollywood. He's great. He's fantastic.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's a
And he's
really
one of your
cool
oldest
person.
friends in comedy?
In comedy, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
I used to run an open mic, and he would come in because he was new to LA, and he was trying to figure it out, and then we just kind of bonded, and we write together, and we've done podcasts together, and he's just a wonderful person. I mean, I could give you a million names, but when I just stop and be like, great personality, deserves to get more attention, Justin.
Yes. And we've got to be cool to cool people.
Totally, dude.
That is a great mentality, and this has been a great chat. Thanks,
Dude, totally.
Zara, for
Thank
hanging
you for
out
having
with
me.
us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
so much.
Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. See you next time. Take care. Bye. Funniest People You've Never Heard Of is a production of Toby or Not Toby Productions. Executive producer, Todd Fields. Producer and host, Peter Murphy. Studio space provided by Third Wheel. Theme song written and performed by Justin Fields. Brought to you by Tequila Especial. Don't forget to like and subscribe.